It is the first time the U.S. military has trained with tanks on Central American soil. The Sandinistas have them, Soviet tanks manned by Soviet-trained crews.
We will be forced to use certain routes, the routes that the Hondurans will want us to use. And they want us to use that because they can pick us off better.
In next week's exercises, the Texas Guardsmen will act as the aggressors, in this case pretend they are Sandinistas moving into Honduras. They have been rehearsing Soviet-style tactics so that the Honduran army can practice anti-tank defense against the kind of assault they could expect from Nicaragua.
They would lead with rows or echelons of armored vehicles, followed by armored personnel carriers, also in rows. And as soon as they would break through a certain point, then they would pour masses of people and equipment through the break point and try to wreak havoc in the rear areas. I think you're thinking American again. Okay, that's right, you did the right thing. And even the PFC, when he sees a problem, you know, he realizes that he has a brain too. But remember, your Russian counterpart wouldn't have been allowed to, you know, he would have been afraid to have made any change in the plan at all.
Sandinista radio stations have been calling the National Guardsmen Texas mercenaries. In fact, the Guardsmen are training in the 130-degree sun to fight for U.S. interests anywhere. But on this day of peace, the implied message to the Sandinistas, the Texas National Guard could well be fighting here. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Camp El Alamo, Las Hormigas, Honduras. Their official mission was to play bad guys, pretend they were Sandinistas invading Honduras from across the Nicaraguan border, so the Honduran army could practice anti-tank defense maneuvers. But ask anybody here, along the dusty roads, in what passes for villages, anywhere the American tanks have been. Here, the Texas Guardsmen are clearly good guys. Most of them speak Spanish. More than half are Mexican Americans from the Rio Grande Valley who have known hard times in their own lives.
We thought that we were poor back home in the United States, but over there we lived kind of as being rich in comparison to the poverty that we exist here in this country.
At Sunday Mass, the Guardsmen took up a collection. They raised over $300 to help buy a pump for a well they drilled. A well that can produce 30 to 40 gallons of water a minute, where there was no water before. The Texans put up their camp, El Alamo, in the middle of one of the poorest agricultural cooperatives in Honduras, land adequate for raising cattle, but not much else. The cooperative proudly sold 2 cows to the Guard, tied them up and had them hauled off as the tanks passed one day. 2 days later, the smell of barbecue drifted across Camp El Alamo all morning.
Every day we spend here, we grow with these people, we are concerned with these people, and we care for these people more.
They are people who seldom get any attention, any care. In the 130-degree sun, families waited hours to see the doctors and medics from the Guard. If playing war was the official mission of the Texans in Honduras, making friends has been their unofficial mission, especially with kids. One officer said he was worried these kids would grow up with the wrong impression of soldiers and what war is all about. But the Hondurans seem to like the Guardsmen as much as the Guardsmen like them. When Camp El Alamo has been dismantled, the anti-tank trenches the Texans built will be left behind. But so will the well, and a lot of good feeling. Martha Teichner, CBS News, with the Texas National Guard in Honduras.